Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's event. I'm Dr. Leong, your host. Today's event is organized by Lahat Road YMCA, Station Y, and 15 Clarke Street. Currently, we are live streamed via Facebook. Topic today is urban farming and community gardening towards food security and food safety. The speaker is Dr. Richard Ng. The highlights of today's event will be the insight of urban farming and community garden in Ipoh City itself. Following Dr. Richard's presentation, there will be a Q&A session, following which we shall have a short introduction of the Harvard YMCA and 15 Clarke Street. Subsequently, we have open discussion on future plans on community events. Just a few housekeeping announcements. Please mute your microphones. Please unmute only during Q&A session. Please keep your questions as short as possible so that others have a time to speak as well. Without much further ado, I wish to introduce Dr. Richard.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Dr. Leong, thank you very much.
Dr. Richard is an associate professor.
Yeah.
He holds a PhD in business administration from Open University Malaysia. Appointed to the Ipoh City Council on 1st May 2020 and is still present in the council. President of Ipoh City Watch, an NGO representing ratepayers in Ipoh since 2014. President of the Lions Club of Perak Silver State. Chairman of Coalition of Perak Caring NGOs. He is attached to the Open University Malaysia as supervisor for Masters and PhD candidates. Director of Academics for the Loyal Academy UTM Space Programs in Ipoh. Director of Perak Eklat TVET Sdn Bhd, a company appointed by the Perak State Government to implement TVET programs. Awarded the Malaysian Best of the Best and Best in Climate Action by JCIM. Awarded the Silver Medal for Best Paper by Asia Association for Open Universities in 2007. And awarded the Bronze Medal for Best Paper by International Conference for Distance Education in 2013. Without much further ado, I wish to invite Dr. Richard to take over. Yes, Dr. Richard, please.
Okay, Dr. Leong, thank you very much for the citation of my profile. And very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For my fellow Lions who are here, I especially invited them. Thank you, Dr. Balu. Dr. Balu and Dr. Wendy and some of my friends from the Lions Club. And also some other friends which I've invited. So for all the participants, thank you very much. So as what Dr. Leong says, some of the rules, but I would like to add a bit. If you have any question, please feel free to stop me, or you can use the chat section to post a question. Maybe Jason can help me with the question. So please feel free to stop me. Okay, I'm going to present 32-page slides and a lot of pictures, less lecture, right? Don't worry. I'm also going to give you the overview of why we need to do urban farming as well as the community garden. But I'm not going to talk to you how to plant vegetables or how to start a farm. But I'm going to talk to you why we need to start a farm and then where to get this land and how to go about it. Okay, so let's start with the first slide. Okay, so the topic today is about urban farming and community garden. Now, basically, urban farming and community garden to a layman is the same, but in terms of technicality, it's different. First, in terms of size of the land. For example, the Ministry of Local Government has defined urban farming, any farming agricultural activity above 1 acre of land, right? Whereas the community garden is below 1 acre of land. So it can be 1 acre to 5 acres, it can be more. So anything between 1 to 5, there's certain criteria. And more than 5 acres, there'll be a different set of criteria. But today, probably I may share more on community garden because this is what matters most to all of us, right? Unless we want to become farmers, and then we may look for bigger piece of land. Okay. Now, below the picture or in the picture itself, let me explain. That was a picture I took about a few months ago, where this guy he was jobless for over a year. He's a contractor, jobless. You can see he's just about 40 years old, out of job for 1 year. And just in front of his house, there's a piece of land just beside the drain. So if you ask me whether this is legal or illegal, the answer is illegal. As long as you did not apply for to legalize it, then it is illegal. And this is what a lot of people have been doing, right? As a city councillor, I've been trying to defend this group of people because they play a very important role. Why? I will explain afterwards. So my topic will be how to participate, how you could participate in urban farming and community garden, especially in the Ipoh City Council area. Now, let me start with the definition for urban farming. So, urban farming in general terms, it means urban agriculture or refers to growing plants or even rearing animals that produce food within a city or town. I think that's very clear. The word urban means city or town. Okay, anything to do with growing plants, rearing animals that produce food, right? Then you are involved in urban farming. But other than the growing and producing food, it also means that any processing that takes place within the city and then distribute to the produce throughout the city. So in other words, it is about growing the food and then processing and distribute the food within the city. And then we call it urban farming. Whereas the other one is called community garden, right? Community garden, as I said just now, involve a smaller piece of land, but it's not that. The word community means it involves a community. It must be a group of people turning on an empty land into gardening space that residents could share. So the key word is it must involve a group of people. Then it involves sharing the produce to the residents. All right. Of course, how do you grow the vegetable? It must be a piece of empty land. The land could be an unused space, no ugly piece of land, unused, full of grass, full of uh, garbage and so on. It looks ugly, untidy, and so on. So if a group of people were to come and clean up the environment, by cleaning up means we cut away the garbage and then discard it. But next, the grass will grow again. Now, in order to beautify the place, or we call it landscape, why not try to plant some vegetables? Some people, they will plant flowers and so on in that empty piece of land. So I've seen many cases. So today I'm going to share with you all about 13 to 14 case studies, which I personally handle, so that this can be a good, what you call, example for you to follow. Now, on the left side, if you look at the picture, this is a real community garden in my garden. Right? It's called Desa Tambun Indah, and this garden is very unique. You can see the background is a football field. Actually, it's not football field; it's a playground. Now, playground, there are two types. In Ipoh, we define a playground as active playground, and the other one is called inactive playground. Now, the one you see in the background is an inactive background, which is managed and well kept by the Ipoh City Council. I believe every twice a month, the council will come and what do you call, clear the grass every twice a month. Of course, my area, because I'm a city council there, I make sure they clear the grounds. Okay. What happened? Dr. Leong, something wrong, huh?
Hmm?
1 minute. My internet line has been disconnected. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay.
Can hear.
Let me check the internet line for a while. Huh? Okay. Meanwhile, is there any question you'd like to ask me about urban farming and community garden? Is it?
Yes, I've got a question.
Okay, please. Mr.
Would space under 1 acre still consider as urban agriculture or urban
Very
garden?
excellent question. Let me answer that question afterwards. Okay, Mr. Lim, I reserve the answer first. This is a
All
very
right, sure.
good
Thank
question
you.
and it become very controversial, right? Very controversial. Why? You will know after this. Okay, just now we have the definition of urban farming, meaning anything more than 1 acre. Then we say 1 acre to 5 acres. Then what about more than 5 acres? Then what about the community garden? How big is a community garden? So this is a definition. I think most city council, the what you call local council, cannot define and has yet to define. So I'll give you a lot of these examples afterwards. Huh? So I'll come back to that question after. Okay, I was talking about this particular community is very unique. You can see we have Chinese, we have Malay, we have Sarawakian, we have Indian in this community. And this is an example which I'm going to uh, make up as a case study for our Ipoh City Council to pick up. Because as you all know, the newspaper has carried the press statement by the mayor. The mayor says anybody interested to do urban farming and community garden, you can do so effective 1st October. So just nice, Dr. Leong introduced this talk. Just nice for all of us. So it's not too late. It's just beginning. And of course, in the beginning, definitely there are a lot of teething problems, even with the city council, even the officers themselves also, they themselves are not clear. I've been asking this question for the past 1 year, to be honest. And only about 2 weeks ago, they have decided. But the question that Mr. Lim asked have not been answered. So I will answer afterwards. Okay. Now, next slide. Why we need to go about urban farming and also community garden. Of course, when we talk about urban farming, community garden, my fellow Lion members, they are interested in how to solve the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal number 2. Number 2 says zero hunger. So we do a lot of projects, hunger relief in among our fellow lions. And number 3 is about growing healthy food, well-being of the people. So when we undertake urban farming and community garden, we actually undertake to help people to towards obtaining SDG goal number 2 and number 3. And the bigger picture of SDG goal 17 goal is to ensure that no one is left behind. And if you read the newspaper and magazine and so on, you will understand why we need to involve in urban farming and community garden, because half of the world populations are terribly affected. Why? Because we have this what we call climate change. So climate change has caused a lot of problems to the weather and so on. And not only that, COVID itself has also, resulted in many people, they are jobless, they cannot, what you call, cultivate their land, and then the produce cannot be sold because the logistics system jam and so on. So it has terribly affected everyone. So let me just go through very quickly about food security and insecurity. So this is the main reason why we all must go into urban farming, right? You can start a very small farm in your own house compound, or you can see, if you see any empty land, please do so and cultivate. If you have money, those people who want to go into serious business in agriculture, you can look into a bigger piece of land. So as we all know, food is one of the basic necessity, right? And good and healthy food nourishes the human body and helps sustain human life. Every individual in our society, especially the needy and those underprivileged group, are guaranteed. And so I say no one should be left behind. We must ensure we do our part to guarantee basic right to food, because quality and healthy food are actually needed for a healthy life. Okay, according to United Nations, the Food and Agriculture Organization, there are 4 dimensions that we need to look into. Number one, food availability. We must ensure that we have sufficient supply from local productions or even import. Of course, in Malaysia, 70% of our food are locally produced, but we still import 30%. Now, depending on what kind of food, there's certain food, even rice, once upon a time, we export rice. Today, we have to become importer of rice and so on. So there are many types of food we import, where once upon a time, we actually export. Of course, there are many types of food. For example, onions and what you call chicken, beef, mutton. We import a lot because we cannot produce enough for our local people. So number 2, food access. People has the access to food. This is what the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization wanted to achieve, to ensure that people has the access to food resources. For example, they can buy food from the market or they can get it from their own farm. But today, due to COVID, because of logistic problem, the price of food has gone up tremendously, right? Even palm oil has gone up. 5 kilogram palm oil has gone up to more than 30, even 30 ringgit now. So what happened to the poor? The rich may not be affected terribly, but many of the poor are terribly affected, right? We must ensure that even the poor, they have access to this food, whether by planting themselves or they buy it from the market. But the price must be reasonable. Number 3, utilization. Utilization is about anything non-food input. For example, packaging, for example, fertilizer. You look at the poor, they cultivate, they go into agriculture, but they don't have the fertilizer. They don't have the know-how in handling composting, all right? And what about the insecticides and all that? So they have no knowledge. So we can play a role to ensure that the poor people, they have this what you call supply of non-food inputs in order to ensure food security. Then stability, the availability and accessibility of food at all times. In Africa, we have seen many times through video, YouTube and so on, there are many people, they die of starvation because of lack of food, because their land is dry for 10 or 12 months or more than that. And even in Bangladesh, in a certain part of India, and even in China, there's big piece of deserts and all that. So those land cannot be cultivated. So if we have land that can be cultivated, let's do our part. That's my message for all of us here. Okay, about food security and insecurity, I like to quote. I'm not a Muslim. There are also quote from Christian and Buddhism, Taoism, and so on. But I like to quote this. The 4 principles deduced from the verses 46 to 49, the Surah Yusuf in Holy Quran. The first principle is to plant and produce sufficient food for sustenance. Number 2, we must consume in moderation. I think we have been talking. Our Lions Club, we also have been campaigning. We eat moderately so that we reduce food waste, right? Thirdly, we must preserve the food for later use. That means we must have abundant food. The food can be dried, can be kept, and then preserved so that during hard times we can use it. And the last one is to share the food. This is interesting. If you have abundant food, please share it to your neighbors, your friend, and whoever. I think we in the Lions, we always do a lot of this hunger relief, which means we share a lot of food to the poor and so on, okay, and the needy. Okay, this is a long lecture, so please bear some patience with me. The benefits of doing urban farming and community garden. Number one, urban farms are grown in city. Remember, urban means city. City centers and usually densely populated area. If we go to China, Taiwan, people plant vegetables at the roundabouts, even roadsides and all that. In Malaysia, we also do that. The difference is in Taiwan, people do it systematically, very well organized, and so on. In Japan, same thing. People do it very clean and all that. But in Malaysia, we need to educate the people to plant in a proper manner. Okay, so the purpose is to ensure that the produce or the consumers are they're nearest to the farm. Number two, urban farms cut the cost of transportation. If we can cut transportation and sell directly to customer, so you know not only the price of the produce is cheaper, but also it's fresh, right? And number three, urban farms can help increase food security by providing inexpensive, I mentioned that, and fresh produce to low-income communities, all right? And urban farms can be open in spare room. So you don't need land actually. If you find a storeroom in your house or backyard or what, that space can be utilized, right? As a urban farm. So your backyard, even rooftops in Singapore, people start planting vegetable on rooftop. Warehouse, a lot of companies, a lot of factories, their warehouse unused. Why not convert that space into, say, for example, vertical farming? Singapore has done that. Their land is very scarce, so they have no choice but to do farming internally, not externally. So by doing internally using ultraviolet lights, I think they also can control the insects and so on. So their food become more organic and more healthy. Okay. Then also we can uh, the warehouse shipping containers. I know a lot of poor people, they use the styrofoam, which we do not encourage actually, because of environmental purposes. But we have no choice sometimes. This is what they can afford. I know there's one company, they go to school, they promote urban farming. They teach people how to plant. They give the seeds and all that. But in the end, if you got excited, then you need to buy their, what do you call, the pots and all that. So this is how they make their money. Okay, but we don't need, you see any empty paint container or any container which we discard as garbage, today we reuse it. Okay, now next, urban farms can be, they can also be run, okay, let me use the pointer. They can be run by one person, yourself, you can do it, or you can do it entire community. Because creating jobs, if you have a community, you can hire people to take care, right? But you become the manager or the person who spearhead the project. And then we have a lot of this volunteerism opportunity to help people build new skills, right? Then urban farming allows you to start small. Start small. You don't need to think big. Let me tell you why we all should start small. And this is the thing that we worry most in the Ipoh City Council. That's why we put a condition. Any NGO interested to apply for land, they must ensure the sustainability of the project. And you know, to start an NGO, you need only 7 people. 7 committee members. And, in every NGO, most of the NGO, there are only 2 or 3 people usually active participants. And the rest are just watching. And if these 2-3 people are not supported and have no motivation, then slowly they will also got demotivated and then the project will die off. So we worry when the project got stuck and die off, what happened to the farm that they have started? What happened to the styrofoam they have started to use? What happened to the zinc that they use as a fence and so on. So all will be abandoned and we become a big heap of garbage, or we call it the garden garbage. And this will actually make the environment ugly, worse, and so on. So this is something we have to think big. So let's start the project small. Start from our home, our backyard, get a pot, plant a few types of vegetable, enough for our own consumption. Then slowly build your knowledge in the composting, kitchen composting, and then experiment until when you are really, knowledgeable, you are well versed with that, what you call own farming, then maybe you can gather a group of people to start a community garden. Okay. Next, you can experiment with system. Start from your home. I told you, you can. Some people they use the modern technique, use tube and all that, controlled by sensor and all that. Now, bear in mind, I'm here not to teach you what type of farming. That will be another talk later on. Today, I'm just going to tell you how to get started, and then we make it sustainable. And most important, help the poor. Make sure we support food security and the most important is food security and food safety for all of us, right? Then next, it helps build strong community. When you bring a community to work, of course, if your project is successful, everyone is happy, looking at the successful vegetable, green vegetable, all of us will be happy, right? Then we continue doing. And let me advise a bit here. A lot of NGO, they started well with their own funding. Then slowly their funding dries up. Then they have no money. Then they have to depend on donation, right? Some people will donate. If your project is good, they will donate. Like our Lions Club, our members contribute with our own pocket money. But after some time, you must always remember, donation only has got one life, one life. So if we can convert our project into what we call a social business, means we start to grow enough, share it to everybody, then hire people to work, and then if we grow more and more, then we have enough produce to sell, then the money earned, generated, we use it as our funding for our subsequent project. That's called social business or social enterprise. Now, urban farms can be multifunctional by providing a space for social gathering. I myself is a practitioner of this urban farming community garden. I get people together, we discuss, and then everyone has got an own idea what to plant and all that. So it's quite nice to have a fellowship through our community garden. Then urban farm can also provide mental and physical. This is important, especially true when our community are aging community. And remember during COVID, a lot of people got mental health problem. And community garden is one of the therapy to reduce this mental health problem. People can release tension, stress, and all that by working out on the farm itself. And then plants can lower blood pressure, increase attentiveness. These are therapy I mentioned just now. Urban farms can also positively impact the value of the neighborhood. So you see, when you start a project, let's say in an open field, bound to have the community, some part of the community will object to your project. But when they started to see the fruit of your labor, the vegetables are growing well, and then you start to share the produce, give it to all the neighbors. I believe we can get all the neighbors to support our project. And this happened in Subang Jaya, Shah Alam, and so on. They have done a successful project there. Only ini started. I'm sure many people have started, but only effective today, we have legalized this kind of urban farming and community farming, community garden. Now, okay, so there's a handful of lecture here, but I'd like to go to the last one. Second, urban farming saves space because a variety of growing system can be used. We can use vertical farming. If we don't have big space, then use vertical, where you can have layered, what you call planting strategy. And then, of course, we can use hydroponic. I will share with you afterwards. Then the ability to grow vertically and hydroponically also allows the urban farms to yield more produce per square foot rather than having big piece of land. And usually for big piece of land, it's never near our home. It's quite difficult to manage, and we're scared of people stealing our produce and things like that. And not only that, there are also animals destroying our plantation. We have this what you call wild boar, elephants, monkeys, and so on. Okay, so finish with my lecture. Now this is the highlight of the things that most of you want to know. So the Ministry of Local Government has come up with 2 acts, which is related to urban farming. So it says the urban farms can be developed in any area, but must adhere to, number 1, Town and Country Planning Act 172. Number 2, Street Drainage and Building Act 1974. So, which means you can cultivate urban farming and community garden in, if you look at the left side, the allowable area, number 1, housing area. The housing area is quite wide. How do you define, right? Number 2, infrastructure and utility reserve land. This is good news. You find a lot of reserve land and you don't know how to go about it. So I will discuss with you. And then we have abandoned green area. So there are many types of abandoned green area. For example, roadside or under the TNB cable, by the riverside, and so on, the river reserve land. So now you are allowed to cultivate. I know some people use the riverside as animal shelter. If they use it, it's not wrong. But the only thing they must what you call show proof how they discard the animal shits. They cannot just throw it into the river. They cannot dirty the river. So there must be a mechanism. If they can prove, then they're allowed to build an animal shelter beside the river. Okay, what is not allowed? Number 1, children's playground, where you see there are a lot of these the swings and all that where children play. You cannot have a community garden. And of course, many of you have seen people plant vegetables by the side of the playground. And actually, according to this act, you are not supposed, it's illegal actually. So the council can take action by dismantling your garden. Yesterday, we have one being dismantled in Buntong. That I am not aware. If I knew, I would tell the Ipoh City Council, I think this is not fair, because you said urban farming, community farming can start effective 1st October. You should allow people an opportunity to apply rather than take action and dismantle because of some people complaining about what you call the farm, right? Okay, next, neighborhood recreational field. And this is the one I mentioned. In Buntong, it's a recreational center. People start to build a farm just beside their house because the house is just beside the recreational field, right? So some people, they are really the type who are against urban farming or community garden. There are people like that. Then road reserve land, you cannot plant vegetable, right? But this is very subjective. Which part of land constitute road reserve? So this one you can check with the any city council, any council, municipal council, right? Like if Clarke, Dr. Balu, you can check with Clarke and so on. So every PBT, they have this act now. All the local council, they follow this act now. It's a matter of the process, how they do it. Okay, next, Promenade Waterfront, all this walkway, landscape rejuvenation area, which is handled by the landscape department, You cannot destroy the landscape. The purpose of landscape is to beautify a place so that the price of the property can go up, so that the area we have certain degree of carbon sequestration. That's very important. So I must make clear the word sequestration means carbon absorption. So this carbon absorption, actually, it's about planting trees where at night they will absorb carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. So the amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by a tree is called the carbon sequestration. So if you plant bigger trees, they will absorb more carbon dioxide. If you plant vegetable, grass, they still absorb carbon dioxide, but not that much compared to planting trees. That's why we have tree planting program for carbon sequestration. We have urban farming, we have community garden for the purpose of greenery. It also helps lower the carbon emission, but the more important thing is it will produce food for food security. Okay, now I zoom into our Ipoh City Council. Those who are in Ipoh, this is what they have came up with, the guideline. So I will translate for you in English, to English. It says activity yang merangkumi amalan penanaman. Same thing. I already mentioned in English. I say urban farming means anything to do with planting, process, or distribution of food and other produce. Okay. Number two, it can be agriculture, or you can rear those animal, chickens and goat, cows, and so on. Secara intensive means in a big scale within the city area and the outskirts. Okay. And next it says the size, land size, area, anything to do between 0.4 hectares means 1 acre to 4 hectares means about 4 times 4, 0.4 times 5 actually. 0.4, 1 acre. So 4 hectares is about 10 acres. So between 1 acre to 10 acres, so you can cultivate your urban farming. Next, what kind of plants? What kind of this tanaman? What kind of plant you can plant? So here H1 refers to vegetables. Vegetable here refers to short-term vegetable, H1. H3 is aquaculture. You can rear fish. Last time you cannot rear fish. If the council people were to find that you rear fish at home, they will issue you a 1,000 ringgit summon. So today, if you apply, you will not be fined because they worry about the mosquito breeding actually. Then H4 is about specialized plantation. For example, you can plant musang king. You can plant coconut. Now coconut got high value. You can plant maize, jagung. You can plant tapioca, ginger in a big scale, and so on. So these are the things that you can do. But I have the whole list for you. So where can you plant? In Ipoh, if you're in Ipoh, there are 12 locations that you're allowed to plant. Number one, this is interesting, the foothill, Kaki Gunung. So we have 5 areas. Masurat is near Gunung Lang. We have big piece of land. Then in Gunung Rapat, we have heard before, Gunung Tunggal, all within the Gunung Rapat area. Then we have Gunung Panjang. Gunung Panjang is in Tambun. Then Gunung Gunting and Rotan, all this within the Ampang area. For your information, this is 350 acres. So it's up to you to identify, submit your paper, and tell the council which area you want. Now, there are a lot of people ask me, can you tell me where is the area? I'm sorry, I cannot tell. Even if I ask the people internally, they also cannot tell because they have never been there. We only zone it, we have never seen it, you can put up a paper. You can go to the land office to go and check this land which belongs to the Ipoh City Council. That's number one. Then number two, the ex-mining land. Ex-mining land, this one you have to go to the land office to check. Okay. Number three, buffer zone. Buffer zone usually by the riverside, there are 66 feet of buffer zone. So you can apply for approval to plant vegetables. Sometimes they don't allow you to plant trees. If you plant down, right? So the best, safest way is to get permission and say you want to plant vegetables, right, for consumption, short-term crops. And then we have a reserve road, which there's no immediate plan to build. So you can find a lot of this reserve road in some of the gardens, big gardens. You can see a big piece of road, a land beside the road. These are the reserve land for the purpose of building road. You can apply, right? If the council has got no plan for the next 3 to 5 years, they will allow you to cultivate, right? This is big piece of land, also. So river reserve, I told you already, there's a 66 feet. The other one, the industrial buffer zone, there's a piece of land between factories and housing area. We call it the buffer zone, which is 500 meters. So 500 meters, so multiply by how many kilometers, so you can imagine this is empty land. Usually you can find a lot of grove, a lot of grass, and so on, a lot of trees. So you can put in your application. And then TNB reserve land, those are under the TNB cable. And then also we have some forests, but not the forest reserve. Forest here defined as empty land with big trees, those forests. But I can tell you, this one is quite sensitive. That's why it says that takluk kepada kelulusan agency. So the forest department has to give you this approval. The land office has to give you approval. The TNB have to give you that approval. Okay. So these are the 8 reserve land you can apply. Then on the right side, these are the private land. I can tell you a lot of people buy land and keep. They don't have immediate use. There's no road access. They pay what you call assessment fee every year. It's not cheap. The assessment can be 16% in Ipoh, because if you don't develop the land, they will charge you 16%. If you start to convert the land into agriculture, you will be charged 5% only assessment. Can you see the difference or not? So I might as well start planting something. And this is what a lot of housing developers are doing. Like Sunway Group, they buy 1,000 acres of land in Tambun. So they only develop some part for house, for the Tambun Lost World, but they still have about 500 acres of land unused. So now they are starting to plant vegetables. So I visited the place, quite big. They have no plans to develop the land, so they plant vegetables. So in order to enjoy lower assessment rate. Okay, then empty land like housing lot in the what you call RPT, Rancangan Perumahan Tempatan, where they give out, the government once upon a time give out land to villages. So everybody got a 40 by 80 piece of land. So they buy, they keep, and the owners are in Singapore, for example. So if the land is idle, you can write to the owner and maybe rent from them, and you can plant vegetables there. You can get permission from the city council. They will definitely allow. Otherwise, that place will be, covered up by a lot of grove and all that, which is not very good. Okay, number 3, ex-mining land. I told you already, some of this ex-mining land belongs to private company. They have no plans to develop. Then, of course, empty land belongs to the owner themselves. Of course, your own land, you can cultivate it, no problem. Okay, the next one, are the areas you cannot use as urban farming or community garden. Number one, those recreational area, the padang, right? But padang, now actually we define two types of padang: active padang and inactive padang. So active means you can see every day people use the field for recreational purposes. If there's a playground, you cannot plant vegetables there. But you see the field is empty, either full of grass, and then you can submit your application to develop the land, turn into community garden only, not urban farming, community garden. And then those road shoulders. Road shoulders are normally used as pathway. This one I'm not too happy because the pathway is meant for people to walk. We want to encourage people to walk to achieve 10,000 steps and so on. So we normally object, but there are what you call road shoulder where there's no walkway, full of grass, and then you can submit your application and develop. After I will show you some of the case study. And the third one, of course, the landscape area you cannot touch. Okay, what are the types of vegetables you can grow? Cabbage, orca, timon, long beans, kangkong, right? Kesum, the what you call laksa leaf, kuchai, and so on. Chili, bayam, sawi. These are all short-term what you call crop. Okay, onion, bendi, even jagung you can plant, lengkuas, tebu. Actually, there are many more. Ginger, tapioca, these sweet potatoes, tomatoes. These are short term. So you can see in the list, you cannot find coconut, musang king, you cannot find papaya, you cannot find this what you call banana. Okay, these are not allowed actually. But if you're cultivating urban farming more than 1 acre, then they will allow you. But nevertheless, you see in many of the kampong area, people are fond of planting mango trees, these nangka, cempedak, they plant rambutan, they plant coconut tree. Actually, they are not allowed, but the council never take action. So in case it is planted in playground, if there is any complaint only then the council will take action. Okay, so I have enough lecture. Now I will go to the things that you want to know, how to apply. If you are interested, you can see this is my garden within my compound, because I got a corner house. I got an empty land 10 feet by 80 feet. So I grow Cavendish banana, so quite fruitful. So I plant a lot of things. So my garden now become 2 crime a day. So I may want to go into vertical. Now, in order to apply, so look at on the right hand side. Number 1, first identify the location. You have to go and find. We cannot search for you, right? You have to search for yourself. Number 2, get a community to discuss and agree to it. Make sure the community doesn't object. If a few people send objection to the council, then we are in trouble. Okay, so make sure we explain to the community the purpose of community garden. I think mostly I'm talking about community garden here better rather than urban farming. Anyone need to know urban farming can ask me afterwards. Let me just zoom into community garden. So you prepare a working paper. In your working paper, you must mention the location, how big is the size of the land, where is the how is it going to be developed, what kind of crops, and then is there any structure or not, right? Some people, they build the composting area, so the council want to know. Then they also want to know how you discard the what you call the garden garbage. So you must explain everything and who and how you are going to run. So once, and also you need to download an application form, which can be obtained online, fill in, put in your paper, put in your NGO registration certificate, and so on, and then submit. together with the $100 application fee. Then there will be a committee to look into your application. Once they have approved, then they will give you a letter. You can start planting. You can start developing the land. And of course, a lot of people ask me, how much is the fee, the rental? Yes, there's a rental. So how much is the rental? This has not been mentioned. I've asked even today, this morning, I asked, I say, I'm going to give a talk. Can you please tell me what is the rate? They cannot tell. But for those who want to develop urban farming, minimum 1 acre, if you want to plant musang king and all that, can for a period of 10 years, 20 years, then the rental is 200 ringgit per acre per month, just to give you an idea. So quite steep, huh? But you can always appeal for lower rate. Okay, for urban farming, you must prepare a piece of working paper, and in your working paper, you must mention how much revenue that can be generated from your farm, because you need to share some of your revenue with the council. It's a profit sharing basis or revenue sharing basis. Huh? You don't have to give 50%. You can suggest 5% or 10% normally. Yeah? We already have some examples actually. Now I will share with you photo. Huh? So we have another 10 minutes. So all pictures, all case study, all I've done before. Of course, these are some are legal, some are illegal, because those days there's no guideline. Now we have guideline, we're going to apply. So this is the community garden involving about 10 NGOs, including my Lions Club. So we were given a piece of land by the Kandu Resort, because they want to use it to show to their tenants, their guests. There is a urban farm there, or we call it the community garden. So we planted for them as our project, and we leave it like that. Of course, there's produce, we can always go and pluck it, pick it. Then we replant. So we planted a lot of things, so quite fun and interesting. Then next, this is hydroponic. Can you see this is a very successful project developed by an electrical engineer over the past 1.5 years because of MCO. So his engineering firm cannot run. So he looked through YouTube, learned how to create a hydroponic system. He invited me to visit his hydroponic farm. It's just about 10 feet by 20 feet space area behind his house. Actually, there's a big piece of empty land he can also apply, and now he can start to apply it. Because the land is a highway reserve land, there's no plan to expand the highway at the moment. So it's quite big, about 1 or 2 acres there. So he can start to do urban farming. But this one I'm showing you is a successful hydroponic. You don't need a lot of space, and you can see the produce is very organic, very healthy, and the yield is very high, about 50 to 80% higher than normal yield. Okay, the next one is a case study at Bukit Merah. It's an empty lot of housing lot actually. It's empty. Rather than leave it to grow grass, the community here, you can see they are all in uniform. I'm also representing the Lions Club there together with the community. They planted, the community is the, what you call the, there's one, safety committee. They plant vegetable. I went to see, it's quite successful. So they share the produce among their members, the NGO members. This is in a school. Yes, this is at SK Guru Kalgidor Buntong, where our club is involved together with 5 other NGOs to support this school. So the school prepared the piece of land. We brought in all the vegetables, the seedlings and all that. We planted for them. Then we donated fertilizers, organic fertilizers, and we planted for them. So after a few months, we visited the school. is quite a successful project. So we every now and then we go back to the school and we give them new seedlings and all that. But now they are self-running actually. Oh, the next one. This is run by villagers. So it's run by one senior citizen. The wife is bedridden. I went there because I'm a city councillor. My task is to help whatever I can. So we contributed some groceries to them. Our club also give them some contribution in terms of food, groceries, and so on. But he has started his own, I would call this urban farming on a piece of land, the road reserve land. Of course, this is illegal, but my task is to help them to apply to get approval. So you can see they plant this kuchai in a styrofoam. I'm not happy. I also warn him not to burn garbage near his housing area. So we have to slowly educate these people, right? So next, we also did an urban farming or community farming, okay, at this old folks home run by the government called Rumah Sri Kenangan. So you can see this is another very good, very successful project run by the senior people. So it's therapy for them. But I went there, we planted some musang king within the compound. They got a 5 to 10 acres piece of land. So we planted so that the next 3 years, they can reap the harvest. Okay, next. Okay, this is at my garden, which I'm going to gather all these people and I will submit the first case study, the community garden. Some of you, I can share with you if you want to run. I can share you the working paper, how to get this, inactive, I would call this inactive field for you to cultivate. Okay, and then I also like to share with you, to run through quickly with you. So you can see this lady is also a senior citizen. She is one of our recipient of groceries from our Lions Club. So we help her because we look at her farm, actually by the roadside, beside the drain. This drain used to be very dirty, full of grass, but today this lady planted a lot of vegetables, sugar cane and so on. So which is quite good. We are happy. In fact, now we donated fertilizer to them. Okay, so you can see I help a lot of these B40 senior citizen people. Okay, the next slide. So here, this is by the riverside. So this poor Indian family, he was an ex-army. You can see the two young children, ex-army, they retired very early. So I visited the farm. Of course, it's run illegally. And now they have the opportunity to legalize this farm. It's actually on the, what you call river reserve land. This is a Taman Hopkins garden. You can see, I tell you, this is the worst garden in Ipoh. The worst, why? Because this is a flood-prone area. There are about 100 residents there, 100 houses. Most of the residents have abandoned this garden because of the frequent flood there. So I call this the flood-prone area. Of course, those who are poor, they cannot afford to move out. So they use the empty plot of a house, abandoned house. They rear goats now. So these are the people I'm also trying to help them to legalize. Of course, the council say cannot, but these are abandoned houses, abandoned by the owner. And I told the council, we have to do something. They pay assessment tax. We should do something and develop. Of course, it's difficult to develop because it's a flood-prone area. They have done a lot of things. They fixed a pump house there. They couldn't solve this problem. So what they're going to do is to close down this garden and shift them to another garden, right? So this will become an agricultural land in future, right? This is Hopkins garden. So you can see a lot of this urban farm, which is not legal. Okay, the next one coming up. This is in Pasir Pinji again. There are many. So you see villages, there are a lot. Right? Pasir Pinji, I shared with you some. They use the what you call water from the drain as a source of water. The next one is in Jelapang. Also another senior citizen on the left. This is one Uncle Chong, his name, 72 years old, staying alone. Of course, he has children. He's not depending on his children. He plant his own vegetable. If you look at the soil are all sand and all that, and yet he can grow his vegetables successfully. Yeah, all right. So I go down and support him by giving him not only groceries but the fertilizers and so on. The organic fertilizer. The next one again in Pasir Pinji. I told you just now. Earlier I show you Pasir Pinji. Now I show you the guy who has been jobless because of COVID. You know, for 1 year he's a housing contractor. Now he has, planted this vegetable on this road reserve land successfully. Okay, now I'm going to urban farm, a bigger project, just to share with you. The next slide. Okay, this guy, his name is Mr. Samuel Impuse. He has got 2 acres of land. I asked him, is he making money? He said no. But his farm, he has 2 orang asli family, which I really salute. He hired these people. He built a hut, not the one in the picture. There's a hut for them to stay. So they cultivate the 2 acres of land. But I like the method. The method they use is called biodynamic farm. And now I'm practicing this. For us, it's good because it's environmental friendly. What does biodynamic farming means? I hope you can Google after this. Maybe later on, next talk, I can talk about biodynamic farming. It involves organic composting using the Napier grass, the grass that we feed the cow and horse, right? So they plant a lot and then they use a tractor to shred it and plow it back to the land without, having, hiring a lot of people. So they use one machine, plow the land, cut the grass and then shred it and then plow back into the land. It will become natural fertilizer. So you can see it's quite successful. On the left is the pumpkin and on the right at the bottom is the watermelon. You look at the leaf, it's not a lot of leaf, but the produce is fantastic. Behind is the lemon tree. You may think this is in Cameron Highland, but it's not. Because they are using biodynamic method, they can successfully plant lemon in this piece of land. So a lot of people surprised. They think this is in Cameron Highland. Actually, the farmers are from Cameron Highland. Because Cameron Highland, the land is scarce. They cannot find land and it's expensive. They move to Pusing and Tanjung Tualang. Okay, so no more sharing, no more case study. These are some of the newspaper I like to share. We have bountiful bean sprouts in Buntong. So how people cultivate bean sprout? They just need to have a small piece of land in their backyard. They can plant. But a lot of people say bean sprout is because of the what they call lime water, the lime water in Buntong or the Kinta Valley, right? Maybe true, maybe not. Okay, I would like to show you another newspaper cutting in the Star. This is also Star. So the reporters normally interview me about urban farming and community garden. So this is the one in my Taman, right? In my Taman, the reporters came to interview. Many reporters came. Even this morning they came to interview because today is the start of urban farming or community garden application. So you can see on the left here at the bottom, this lady plant curry leaf, and then dry it and turn it into tea. Quite healthy, Some people plant the moringa leaf and then dry it and become a green tea. So this is something you can plant. And then on the top, you can see this. This is a Sarawak lady planting tapioca. She's very good. So we absorb her into our community. We have Chinese, we have Indian, we have Sarawakian, and all that Malays to cultivate this land. Okay, and finally, the Singchu Jipo, they have interviewed me before, and today they came also to interview me. So you can see this is the successful. It's quite difficult to define urban farming. To me, this is urban farming below 1 acre. It's actually a small plot of land. Okay, okay, all right. So I come to the end. So I would like to remind everyone again about urban farming, about why we must involve in community garden. Don't talk about urban farming. Let's start small, I say. You can see the picture on the left is actually the yam planted by one coffee shop. I went for breakfast this morning. I was quite amazed when I took a picture. It was planted very well. You can see where they plant, and they plant it very well. And then on the right hand side is a contrast. It's a piece of empty land full of grass. It's really empty. It's a road reserve land, not cultivated. Nobody dare to touch. Right? It's a waste, isn't it? So I like to repeat, a community garden is a big project. You start small, and definitely not one you should undertake lightly. Some of you NGO, Lions Club and all that, please start this project, but don't take lightly. It needs a lot of hard work and planning, a lot of perseverance, a lot of passions and patience, because planting vegetable is like learning to play organ and piano. You want to start to play a song immediately after 1 week. You couldn't achieve that level. Planting vegetable is the same. You cannot plant vegetable overnight and see the results of it. It takes months to see the results, right? So for many people, the benefits of community garden is what? The fresh air, the green environment, the clean space, unutilized space, ugly space. Now you can start planting, turn into landscaping, become therapy to the senior people, and food, placing food on the table for many of the poor people, and so on. That's why this thing, I'm very passionate as a city council. I'm looking at how this can benefit the poor people. In Ipoh, we have the biggest, what you call, urban poor in Malaysia. More than 30% of our population in Ipoh are considered B40, you may be surprised. So we are doing a lot of things. Even today, yesterday, we have a big meeting. We argued, we say we must open the economy, all the economic sector by hook or by crook. A lot of people again say COVID, this and that. We are now living in an endemic, not pandemic. We must understand where COVID is just like a flu, normal flu. So when we got flu, we just go and take the flu tablet, right? Because most of us are vaccinated, right? So we have 70% vaccination rate, fully vaccinated in Perak. And in the whole nation, we have achieved 85, 86% today. So the government say 80% is herd immunity, right? We have achieved, but a lot of people are still worried because of a lot of these anti-vaxxers and all that. Okay, now I go back to Mr. Lim, your question, very good question. So you have seen all the case study. I've shown you big, small, especially small. And your question just now, what about those in between, the small and the big? Between, that means not more than 1 acre, and consider, like roadside and all that in between. This is something the council has not defined. So I'm going to bring up this, but I will advise you, if you see a piece of land, probably half the football size, half a football size is about maybe quarter acre, you can apply, right? You can apply as community garden to be very safe. Any land put under NGO is safe. They will give priority. But if you apply as individual, that is a bit difficult because priority is given to any NGO and community. So if you can gather 3 or 4 people or 6 people, right? The application form got the names of 5 people on it. So you can get about 5 people, 5 names among the people in your Taman, your area, you can submit and apply. I think the same thing will apply in all the municipal council. because Ipoh is setting an example, right? Everybody is looking at us. We are the first to launch, even though in Subang Jaya they have started, but the guidelines started from Ipoh actually. Okay?
Dr. Richard, could I just add a bit more detail?
Sure.
So currently I've got about 0.075 acres, so it's about 3,000 plus square feet of land on the side of my house. It's within my property grounds. So I'm growing vegetables on the side, and I'm generating small amount of income from that lah. I've got
Where are you located?
Gunung Rapat, Ampang area.
Okay, good.
So is it possible to apply for urban agriculture under this kind of setup?
You can try. Okay, you can try. Prepare the working paper under individual, right? So you say you want to rent the land, the piece of land. But if you have an NGO, a community there, it will be better. If you
So
apply,
even if it is part of my own, like I own the land, I still have to rent it.
no need. If you own land, you don't have to rent. You just submit your application for approval. Okay?
Okay.
As long as there's no structure, then you don't have to pay any fees. Anything below 1 acre, there's no fee charge. Remember, just to legalize, you pay $100, that's all. You don't pay rental because it's your own piece of land.
Okay. So if I have a small chicken coop, does that count as a structure?
You need to write it, submit, okay? Just submit to be on the safe side.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much, doctor.
Any structure, you got a container or even what you call place to keep your tools and all that. They want to know, is it the structure? So your structure, if you don't want to pay a fee, you build a temporary structure. If you cement and build a room like that with cement and all that, then they will charge you the assessment fee, because it's considered built-up area. So the assessment will be calculated based on square foot, right? Or per square meter, we call it, based on the 16.5% rate, per square meter.
So if I'm already paying assessment for that piece of land, so then they will change the calculation for that piece of land.
The structure already existed or not, Mr. Lin?
Sorry?
Is your structure existed?
It's a temporary structure, so it's just bamboo screwed together. There's no cement. It's all you can take it apart anytime.
No. The bamboo they encourage now. Let me tell you, you put bamboo better. They will not charge you.
Yeah, it is made of bamboo with just a few cement boards holding it up.
All right. Okay. So Q&A, I can spare some time.
Q&A, yeah. Q&A.
Okay, doctor, there's a question on the chat.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, someone from iPhone, they said, who can we approach to seek help to transform unused padangs around the housing estates in Ipoh to community gardens? Are we allowed to garden there? How about water supply?
Okay, good question. So this is happening everywhere. Now the first thing is the padang an active padang or not active? So if it is active, there are children playing there. There are people, doing recreational activities. Then we are not allowed to cultivate that land. If it is inactive, where you see a lot of people use that padang as parking grounds and all that, use a lot of grass, then the community garden can be activated by the people around there. So there must be a community there. Only the people there can cultivate the land, not outsiders. So outsiders, they say, okay, I want this piece of land, I come in. But they have nothing to do with the community. So we will not approve to these people. Okay, if you find any, then it will consider illegal. So somebody can put up a fresh application and we can get the enforcement officer to, dismantle all the garden, right? Okay. I saw the second question. Listen, I read the question.
Yeah.
Do we speak to if we like to petition for small-scale animal rearing? Petition, this is a big word. So I know a lot of animal shelters, they're very interested to get a piece of land. Actually, the council for Ipoh City Council, we have allocated 1/4 acres of land in Tanjung Rambutan, right? You can apply for that land, but we want an NGO to manage. So we have allocated that land for the purpose of animal shelter. Then we also have provided 1.5 acres of land in this Lahat. But a lot of people grumble, the NGO complain it's too far away and this and that. We cannot allow animal shelter within a community because the community has got right to object. So you only can cultivate outside the area. It must be far away from the community. Okay? And normally, this kind of application must be vetted by the, what you call the, this veterinary department, you know. They must give consent first. Then only the paper will come to us. Or you submit your application to council, the council will refer to veterinary department. If it is land belongs to the river reserve land, the fastest way is you go straight to the department and JPS. You apply to them, get approval, then you submit your application to our city council.
Dr. Richard, if I could follow up on that question a little bit.
Sure.
So what I'm thinking about actually when I asked that question was more of like, say for example, I have a bit of land. So still within the context of my house compound,
Yes.
I'm rearing, say, a small flock of chickens. I've got 6 chickens currently. So technically by Ipoh bylaw, all farm animals are not allowed on
right.
residential property.
Right.
So like if I apply for urban agriculture, so then with, say, if I have the consent of my neighbors, then we would be able to, so if the application goes through, would I be able to then keep my chickens, right?
I want to be honest with you.
Okay, sure.
Usually we do not allow the rearing of chicken and animals within the housing area. Because we have problems like in Manjong,
the
flies, remember, house flies have been there for many years and they still cannot find a solution to it. So it become big problem. So because of that, during the meeting the other day, we have already decided that we will not allow the rearing of chicken. But just now I show you the slide. In Hopkins Garden, the housing area has been abandoned by people. So the neighbor used one of the housing lot and rear goats, a lot of goats, right? So this is another dilemma. But chicken, cows and all that, we got big problem, right? Because we have received a lot of complaints from the people.
Right.
So
because in my current context, right, there are certain techniques that I use that helps to keep down the level of flies. So the number of flies is well below like problem level. Because I use things like deep litter. My chickens have 25 square feet per chicken. It's lots of grass. So even so far my neighbors, none of them have said anything, and I don't have a fly problem.
Actually, there's one method, Mr. Lim. You can use an enclosed method of chicken rearing method, you know. Enclosed method, have you heard of that?
Yes, so the one usually they will do on a large scale because I've only got 6 chickens and I don't plan to have much more.
Okay, you have technology, you submit your technology. I think we will consider that. Don't worry, I'm in the committee. I'm in the committee of approving, so I will try to defend you if your technology is acceptable.
All right, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, any other question?
Dr. Richard, this is DC Balu.
Yes, DC Balu.
Okay, I just want to tell you, this chicken rearing has always been a problem. If you go to Sitiawan, for example, even the Dinding farm, chicken farms, that whole area, I mean, it's not only the residential area I'm talking about. I'm talking about even though they are located outside the residential areas, but the neighboring communities are also facing. I know of one area, particularly in Setiawan, where it is in the oil palm estate, but it's infested by the fly, what we call the flies coming from the chicken farm nearby.
Yes,
So
correct.
this is a very perennial problem. You can, what Shimron Lim is saying about this enclosed method and all those kind of things, I'm very eager to, if we can share that with us, maybe this can try to be avoided, in those kind of areas. Because during Deepavali, when I go down to Setiawan, and I see that during the festival period, you can't leave all the Indian cookies and all that on the table. The flies will come, from the neighboring dinding farms, and they have complained, but nothing has been taken into account. So I'm just sharing this with you. So I'm very interested when Shimron says he has a technique of controlling this with the chicken farm. I mean, although he has 6 chickens, but I'm very interested to find out how he does it. So Shimron, if you can share that experience with us, it will be good. Because then I can share with the community in Setiawan.
Currently, I'm using, so what I've noticed the local chicken farmers do is that they usually have a bare ground coop. So the coop at the bottom is just either gravel or sand, and that exposes the feces to a lot of, it leaves it exposed. So as it decomposes, it will release gases and smells that will attract flies to come and lay eggs. What I'm currently doing is what is common, actually quite common in America and Europe. It's known as the deep litter method. So the bottom of the chicken coop is covered with at least 6 inches of rice husk. And so when they poop into the rice husk, and then the rice husk will the carbon in the rice husk will bind with nitrogen. And so it will eliminate any smell coming out. So the moment there is smell, it means there's not enough carbon. You add more carbon in, it eliminates the smell. And so that cuts down a lot of flies. Food, usually I give them enough to eat within 1 hour. And then after that, I keep. So there's no leftover food left so that the chickens don't dirty up the place. And then that actually brings the flies in. So that is one of the things that I'm currently doing. The other one is also that I limit the amount of chickens that I have. So currently I only have, so each chicken has 25 square feet of space. So I have space for about 5-6 chickens, and then that's pretty much it. This gives it a lot of space for them to move around, and so their dung is not concentrated in one spot, which will also increase the nitrogen levels. So as long as you manage the nitrogen levels, we are able to manage the flies.
Okay. Thank you, Shimron.
You're welcome.
Right. Any other question? I think the chat, there's not many questions yet. More. Okay, I think okay. You can share it there. Okay. Is there any more question you'd like to ask?
Dr. Richard?
Yes.
This urban farming or community farming is very much dependent on the community around that area where the farm is going to come up, right? If they reject because of smell or because of pests, even if it's already approved earlier, will the council take action and maybe disapprove later in time?
Yeah, good question, Dr. Leong. Normally, the council will advise these people first. They will not take immediate action. Our city council, I don't know about other city council, our city council, we are a bit generous, very lenient. We are not the type that take action immediately, except the one in Buntong. I'm not sure why. So I will have to find out why they take such a drastic action. There must be some reason. Maybe complain for too long, or these people really didn't take good care of the garbage or whatever. So cause nuisance, we call it. So there's an act of nuisance where the council take action. For example, I've seen cases where the council take action, where people build a lot of huts, very ugly huts, and then they, you see, usually we will not take action, put it this way, if no one's complained. If somebody complained, then definitely we have to take action. Otherwise, the people who complain say we are inaction. we do nothing about it. So the best thing is when we want to start a community garden, talk to your community. So you have planted vegetables successfully, share it out with them. I think they will be very happy. I know I'm facing one also, where there's a person who is crazy of feng shui. Yeah? He said, no planting anything in front of my house. Actually, in front of his house doesn't belong to him. Remember, according to the Local Government Act, you are the owner within your compound. Anything outside your house is not your problem. You have no right. Okay? So we can plant trees, we can plant vegetable and so on. But because we want to maintain harmony and to avoid the act of this nuisance, we take action. But nobody can say, oh, this is my land. Anything outside is not your land. I have to make clear this, Dr. Leong. Correct.
Yes,
A lot of
understand.
people think that they bought a house, the padang in front also belongs to them. It doesn't belong to anybody actually. All right? It belongs to the government. All right? So the government has got right. All right? I got a lot of this headache as a city councillor. A lot of people scolded me, scolded me. They don't know they're scolding the government, All right? We can take action. You keep scolding, we just call the enforcement to come. Then you're in trouble. All right? Just be nice to us. We advise, we help you right now.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Yeah, for Dr. Richard?
I hope it's clear for today. Later, when I'm free, Dr. Leong, we will share about the biodynamic later. Then we can
sure.
share hydroponic also. Never mind later. We settle
that would be very good.
first, where we have to start community garden. I hope everybody can start. So if you have any problem, can always email to us, right? Do you all have my email? You got my contact number, can always email. I saw one person asking me where to get a form. The form can be obtained from MBI website, mbi.gov.my, or you can Google, you can find the form. Okay? If not, I will pass to Dr. Leong. Ask Dr. Leong.
Dr. Richard, I just, this is not a question. My name is Vicky. This is not a question, but just to share my experience with you. Lately, I've just started growing plants, bitter gourd, eggplant and cucumber, and everything is so nice, and they bring so much joy and fun to all my neighbors, and myself, of course. And yesterday morning, I discovered that I had 6 new long beans, quite long already. And I left after watching them. I took a photograph. I left the house. And in the evening, I came back. Gosh, the monkeys ate them up. The monkeys in this area, they ate up my long beans and my eggplant. They're so frustrated now. But monkeys, they ate them up.
Area is it?
I say in Taman Ipoh Garden is there.
Oh, near
the temples, So I don't know what I can plant now.
So is the monkey frequent or not there?
Yes, but then I had very, very nice bitter gourd, for a few months already, and so pretty. But I don't understand why they help themselves to the long beans. They don't seem to like the bitter gourd, but then the long beans and plus the eggplant. I think I have to change my plants to other things now.
Good idea. Okay, now you are troubled by the monkeys. There also sometimes when you plant certain vegetable, the soil may not be suitable sometimes. So these are things I think when you are in the community, the whole community can share, discuss, and plan, right? To ensure that the right type of soil, the what they call irrigation, and some of you ask about water and all that. Actually, the source of water, example, if you choose a piece of land, there's no water. That's why we ask you to get a community, and that community must be near the land, so you can get all the resources, electricity or whatever. But better still, if you want to protect the environment, try to use a solar system. It costs a bit of money, but it helps protect the environment. Yeah, this is something we want to encourage. So in your working paper, if you say you're using solar system, you have some mitigation, environment protection, I think you will get first priority. All right, we all must protect our environment. That's why we plant vegetable. Of course, we talk about food security. Actually, the byproduct of this urban farming and community garden is our environment.
But what I'm trying to say is, do you think that the DBI will send somebody to do something with the animals around?
Yes, I am the councillor. I pick up, ask you where you stay. You say Taman Perak. So
Yeah, Taman Perak, the Taman Kaya there.
to inform the what do you call the one department, Jabatan Perhilatan. They take care of animal. They will go there and check and trap the monkeys. Okay, so we have
Oh,
a lot.
now they're coming back. At one time, there were very few of them, but now they are coming back again.
So I think we have to call this department to go and catch the monkeys. You see, right? We have a lot
Thank you, thank you.
of cows, buffaloes. We have problems with snakes. We have wild boar everywhere because of COVID. Because when COVID, people stay home, they all come out. And because a lot of our jungle have been destroyed, so this is their natural habitat. When we destroy their habitat, they have no food. They have to come out and look for their food. So this is the problem we face. So what the department will do is to trap this animal. They are not going to kill. They trap and release them at their natural habitat. So we keep on advising the city council, no more chopping down of trees. There's certain area you cannot chop trees because we want to release animals there. This is the, I tell you for sure, we have been talking about this. We have 52 acres of forest reserve which cannot be touched within the Ipoh city. So normally we will release the animals there for your information, right?
Thank you very much,
Okay, yeah.
Dr. Richard.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Richard.
Yes.
Excellent presentation. I think a lot of questions have been answered, and I think a lot of people present here are very interested in community farming, community gardening as well. Yeah, I think we have learned a lot. I think we thank Dr. Richard once again for coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's very interesting. The future talk will be on hydroponics, and the other one is what is that? Some biofarming, is it right?
No, the biodynamic.
Biodynamic. Okay, there's some new word for me. Okay.
Dr. Leong, my next topic I would like to share later on. There are two more topics I'd like to share. One is the Cantonese Trail, which I really approve, just to let you know. But I have to do a bit of homework first before I can release. There are certain info I cannot release. The other one is how to be a good ancestor. That's something I like to share, how to protect our environment. Talk about climate action, climate change and all that. Something which is going to happen in the future. But we are going to be the good ancestors. Okay?
Good, very good. Yeah, we are looking forward to that.
Dr. Leong, for hosting this talk.
Most welcome. Yeah. So right now, Dr. Richard has actually stressed very much on community. I would just like to show you two videos, very short videos about community and how we can use these two places for our community work. So if you bear with me just a couple of minutes, I'll share with you these videos. Okay, yeah. So
Impressive, Dr. Leong.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So those places that we have shown in the video is available for community events actually. So if you have anything to organize, okay, let us know. There may be or may not be rental depending on whether your event is for charity purposes or for connection of the Ipoh people. So do let us know if you have an event. All right. So we are also bringing in a technology whereby we can actually use Zoom and other live telecasting features into the building because we got unified there, high-speed internet. So we can also do exactly what we are doing now at home during the the pandemic or going to be endemic, as Dr. Richard says. Actually, it's very true. We are actually going to be into endemic already. It's just like the flu. So, but still have to be cautious. So yeah. So just still remember about the mask, social distancing, and hand sanitizing. Very importantly. So do contact us. Dr. Richard also be contactable directly or through us also can, no problem. We can relay messages. Yeah. So is there any questions or any projects that you wish to have in future? And I also noticed that in your registration form, some of you have indicated that you want to plan some events, organize some events, give a talk. So when nobody has like they want to give a song, sing a song, or play musical instruments, but storytelling all welcome. If you got anything to sell for charity or anything you want to sell, give some donations to charity, like crafts, food or whatever, do let us know because the place is there and we have the internet capability, the virtual capability, online capability to do all these things. So, and we have Jason with us, who is a very good videographer, also very good in the internet. So we can use all this know-how. Jason there, you see Jason Chin. So we use all this know-how together and we can improve the Ipoh community. Especially now during this period of difficulty, I'm sure we can uplift the lives of the B40 people, right, in various ways. Community gardening, urban farming, riverside and whatnot. I'm sure there's a lot of ways. So what we need to do is actually create a think tank, come together, maybe use Clarke Street as an innovation hub, combine forces, and with different NGOs. And Dr. Richard is also in charge of all these charity NGOs, isn't it? So
Yeah.
bring them all together, chit chat over internet, and then we have concrete ideas. We can sit down further, make them into real projects.
Okay.
Yep. So
Good.
contact us. Yep. Any more questions? Anything to ask Dr. Richard?
Those who need the form, someone said it's not available. The one email to me, I will get you the form. All right, directly. Yeah, I've given my email there. So just email to me. I will send to you the form. Okay.
Okay, yes, very good. Thank you very much again, Dr. Richard.
Leong.
Excellent talk.
Thank you, Jason.
And thank you
Thank
for all
you,
the
Dr. Ng, and
participants
also
coming
Dr.
in. Thank you for your
Keong.
time
Thank you.
today and have a blessed weekend.
Okay.
Lovely weekend.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Right,
Yeah.
right.